The room erupted the way rooms do when something good happens to someone else. Applause, chairs scraping, a few whistles. My wife stood up, smiling with a brightness I'd never seen aimed at strangers. Her boss hugged her. Someone handed her a glass. The promotion of her life, they said. I clapped when everyone else did. I meant it, at least in principle. What I didn't mean was the small pause she took before looking at me, or the way her hand went to her phone before it came to me. We got home late. She kicked off her shoes, still riding the high, and said she needed to make a quick call. I watched her step onto the balcony, sliding the door closed with care as if noise mattered now. Through the glass, I saw her laugh, head back, shoulders loose. It wasn't the relieved laugh she used with me after a hard day. It was lighter, almost reckless. When she came back in, her face had settled into something neutral and professional, like she'd put on a jacket. "He's so happy for me," she said too quickly. I didn't ask who. I slept poorly, not because I was angry, because something had shifted and my body noticed before my mind caught up. The confirmation arrived without drama. The next morning, as I made coffee, her phone buzzed on the counter. I wasn't snooping. It was face up. The name was there, familiar from months of careful vagueness. Above mine, above her mother's. I stared at it long enough to understand that nothing I said would make this smaller. I didn't confront her. Not because I was afraid, but because confrontation would have given her something, an argument, a performance, a chance to frame herself as torn. I didn't want to be part of that scene. For days, we moved through our routines with a politeness that felt like a temporary visa. We talked about groceries. We talked about her new role. She thanked me for being supportive. I nodded. Inside, I practiced the sensation of letting go, like loosening a muscle I'd been clenching for years without realizing. The ultimatum came sideways. She didn't say it directly, but it leaked into everything. Her impatience, her sudden seriousness, the way she studied me as if measuring my usefulness against a deadline I hadn't agreed to. One night, she said, "Things are complicated right now," and waited. I understood then that someone else had demanded clarity, that I was being positioned as an option. That was the moment the internal debate ended. I didn't feel rage. I felt an almost clinical calm. Waiting for her to choose would still be choosing her terms. I didn't want revenge. I wanted removal. The next morning, while she was in the shower, I sat at the kitchen table and filled out forms. The language was blunt and oddly comforting. Dates, addresses, a line where I stated that the marriage was irretrievably broken. No explanation required. Authority has a way of simplifying things. I filed before lunch. The papers arrived 2 days later. A courier rang the bell. She signed without reading, distracted, assuming it was something related to work. When she opened the envelope, the sound she made was small, almost embarrassed. "What is this?" she asked. I filed, I said. My voice surprised me, steady, unadorned. She stared at me like I'd skipped a scene in a movie she thought she was directing. "You didn't even talk to me." "I didn't need to," I said. Not cruelly, just accurately. She tried to explain then, to say she hadn't chosen yet, that things were complicated, that the promotion had changed everything. I listened the way you listen to weather reports when you've already canceled the trip. The power shift wasn't loud. There was no yelling, but it was undeniable. The choice she'd been preparing to make no longer existed. It had been relocated to a process, to timelines, to signatures, to something that didn't care how charming or conflicted she felt. After that, there was bargaining, then silence. She moved out within a month. Her career continued to rise. Mine stayed where it was. People asked how I was holding up. I said I was fine because that was mostly true. At night, alone, I felt the weight of what I'd lost. Not just her, but the version of myself that believed patience would be rewarded. I didn't feel victorious. I felt intact. Sometimes I imagine the call she didn't get to make, the speech she'd rehearsed, the moment she'd planned where she'd hold all the cards. I don't linger there. That story belongs to someone else. What remains is quieter, a sense that I chose myself without needing an audience, that I stepped out of a triangle I never agreed to be part of. I don't know if I'm healed. I know I'm no longer waiting, and that, for now, is enough.